When we talk about professional conduct, what are we really talking about? It's a question that cuts to the heart of every single profession. And today, we're going to dig into that by looking at a really fascinating case study, the guidelines for clergy in the Church of England. So, let's just get right to it. When you think about professional standards, what comes to mind? Is it this beautiful, high ideal that you're always striving for, something to aim at? Or is it more like a hard line in the sand, a clear boundary that you simply cannot cross? Because how you answer that changes everything. Okay, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get into what aspirational versus prescriptive really means. Then, we'll look at the current guidelines and what I call the aspiration trap. After that, we'll explore a different idea, this good enough solution. Compare the two side by side, and we'll wrap it all up with a simple metaphor. Are we talking about a railing or a telescope? Right. Let's get to the core of this debate. An aspirational guideline? Well, that's all about encouraging excellence, right? It's pointing to the stars. A prescriptive rule, on the other hand, is about drawing a very clear line that forbids misconduct. So you can think of it like this. One is about the absolute best you can be, and the other is about the worst you can't be. So let's dive into our case study. The way the Church of England's guidelines are set up right now, they're meant to be a tool for reflection. They are explicitly not a rulebook for discipline. And look, don't just take my word for it. It's written right there in the official documents. The guidelines are aspirational in nature rather than prescriptive. That one sentence really sets the tone for everything. It's all about aiming high.
The preface just doubles down on this. It says these guidelines are not a legal code. So instead of a set of laws, it's more like shared wisdom, passed down from one generation of clergy to the next. It's meant to support and inspire, not enforce.
So the takeaway here is that the entire system is built around this idea of achieving excellence, the highest standards. It's an ideal to strive for. And look, that sounds really noble, doesn't it? But this is where the problems begin. And that brings us to what I'm calling the aspiration trap. It's that moment when these wonderful high ideals actually start creating confusion, ambiguity, and a whole lot of pressure. Okay, this is absolutely crucial. There's a massive legal disconnect here. Actual misconduct isn't defined by those aspirational guidelines we've been talking about. Nope, it's defined by a completely separate legal framework, the clergy conduct measure. The guidelines, they're just a useful tool that a tribunal might look at. So what does that mean? It means you can go against the guidelines, and it might not legally be misconduct at all. And this right here is the psychological trap. The document itself admits that clergy might not be able to maintain these highest standards all the time. Think about that. The system is built around an ideal that it openly says is probably unattainable. That is just a perfect recipe for burnout, for anxiety, and for imposter syndrome. It basically sets people up to feel like they're constantly failing. So if we boil it all down, here's the problem. These aspirational guidelines, they're fantastic at drawing a map to the top of the mountain, to excellence. But they do absolutely nothing to tell you where the edge of the cliff is. There's no clear line between what's okay and what's actual misconduct. So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, one proposal is a complete shift in thinking towards what's called a good enough standard. And just to be clear, this isn't about promoting mediocrity, not at all. It's about providing absolute clarity. A good enough standard is pretty much the polar opposite of aspirational. It's prescriptive. It tells you exactly what you must do and what you must not do. It's statutory, which means it has real legal weight. Its whole job is to draw that clear line we've been talking about, focusing on compliance with the basics, not on vague ideals. So let's just run through the features. It's prescriptive, it's legally enforceable, and its sole purpose is to define the boundary of misconduct. The focus is on compliance, which gives everyone involved, from the clergy themselves to the public they serve, something the other model just can't: crystal clear clarity. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's put these two models head to head and see how they stack up in a few key areas. This table just makes the difference so obvious. Let's take governance. The aspirational standard says, achieve the highest possible standards. What does that even mean? It's totally subjective. The minimum standard, ensure annual accounts are submitted by legal deadlines. Boom, clear, enforceable. Or look at language. Model Christ-like language is a beautiful idea, but what does it mean legally? Whereas refrain from using racist language is a clear, objective rule. One is a vague ideal, it just adds pressure. The other is a solid baseline for safe, professional conduct. So, to bring this all home, let's use a quick metaphor that I think just nails the heart of this argument. When we think about a professional code, should it be a railing or a telescope? Aspirational guidelines are the telescope. They point you towards a beautiful, far-off destination, a vision of professional excellence. They're all about inspiration. But a minimum standard, that's the safety rail on the bridge you're crossing. Its job isn't to inspire you with the view. Its job is to keep you safe. Its purpose is clarity. It's there to define the edge so you don't fall into the chasm of misconduct. And that really leaves us with one last question, and it applies to every single one of us, no matter our profession. What's more essential for a code of conduct to provide? A picture of a far-off destination, or the guardrails that make sure everyone makes it across the bridge safely?